How's it going, comic book fans? Welcome back to Comic Drops. Some comics are fun, some are weird, and then there are ones that hurt, that touch on events and themes that are close to readers personally. Ice Cream Man #2, titled Rainbow Sprinkles, is one of those comics. Written by W. Maxwell Prince with art by Martín Morazzo, this issue doesn't just ask you to read, it asks you to take a long, heart wrenching look at a parasite that plagues many people, including ones we may even know. What we get here isn't just a horror story with a surreal twist. It's a meditation on addiction, on how love can become distorted by dependence, and on the ways people try to escape their pain, whether through drugs, denial, or distant dreams. And beneath the hallucinations, the disjointed narration, and the cruel tricks of memory, there's something painfully real happening on every single page. So today we're discussing Ice Cream Man with no gimmicks, no humor, only what it says about suffering, about choices, and about the one little lie addiction never stops whispering. Just one more time, and then we'll be okay. Now, before we dive into today's video, I want to take a moment and speak directly to anyone out there who may be struggling with addiction. Whether it's you, someone you love, or someone you've lost. Addiction is not a moral failure. It's not weakness. It's a disease, and it's one that lies to you. It tells you you're alone. It tells you you're beyond saving, but that's not true. Help is out there. Healing is possible, and you are worth saving. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out. There are people who care and who want to help. Issue #2 of Ice Cream Man is entitled Rainbow Sprinkles and continues the series' exploration of horror rooted in human suffering, this time with a sharp and unflinching focus on drug addiction. As with issue #1, writer W. Maxwell Prince and artist Martín Morazzo deliver a brutally intimate look at pain, only here the supernatural is a quieter undercurrent, with the real terror emerging from the psychological and physical collapse of its characters. The story opens with a haunting visual. A woman narrates in a desperate, unpunctuated stream of consciousness fashion, while her boyfriend lies unconscious from an overdose or is having withdrawals of some sort. At this point, it's not entirely clear, but we are immediately presented with a frantic situation. And then we learn her name is Karen, and she says, "Dear Jimbo, my sweet, nice Jimbo, I know you've been sick, dope sick, laid up all shivers and gagging, and God, my God, if it doesn't just break my heart in three seeing you like this." Her speech is fragmented and lacks grammar, revealing her unraveling mental state and the stress she seems to be under. She tries to comfort him. "I got you the cold compress, but it don't work. And ever is it hard to watch you suffer. I just can't stand it." She searches for more drugs in a bag nearby. "We need medicine. And anyway, we're out of cash. We got maybe $30 between us. That's it, and that's all." So right after this first scene, we see the situation's been established. Either Jim is overdosing, or he's suffering from withdrawals and needs something to possibly save his life. Karen's stream of consciousness narration, rushed, unpunctuated, and emotionally raw, instantly immerses us in her mental state. She's panicking, grieving, and rationalizing all at once. She talks about love, care, and concern for Jim, but it's all wrapped in a haze of denial. However, we are already presented with one of the issue's major themes: codependence. Karen sees herself as a caretaker, but she's also his enabler. Calling what I will assume is heroin medicine is deliberate and tragic. It's a reframing of poison as healing, a coping mechanism used by many addicts. The scene exposes how addiction reshapes reality for its victims. Heroin isn't the problem in Karen's eyes. It's the solution to Jim's pain, even though it's the very thing causing it. As Karen narrates, we're transported back to how she and Jim first met. A tender memory clearly serving as a mental coping mechanism for her. Remember when we was just two young lovebirds, like two finches? So much love, and we was king and queen. And in a nightclub flashback she recalls, we met at Bobby G's club. There was music and lights and shiny happy people dancing. A clear nod to REM's song Shiny Happy People. Jim approached her with a weird little line. You got a dead bug in your hair. And she smiled back. Well, if you're going to get all romantic on me. From there, their love story blooms across several panels. Walking in the park, hanging out with one another, and doing drugs by the pond, leaning on each other emotionally. And we were steady from then to now, two broken people put back together. We'd walk through the park and do key bumps on the bench, my favorite one by the small pond. Those were the days, weren't they? But really, they were never whole. Their bond wasn't healing, it was enabling. The start of their descent into addiction. Now we see right through this, but Karen clings to the past as if remembering how they met somehow redeems where they've ended up. This longing for the past is a form of emotional anesthetic, much like the heroin itself. She is high on these fond memories, not reality, and in her mind, somehow justifies things to come. But the tone shifts quickly. The next page marks their descent into heroin addiction. By then, I think it was spring, we decided to try dope. Why not just once? And golly, oh God, it came to us right there. The smells of the season. The narration becomes surreal as they hallucinate. The colorful birds and the air you could taste, the sunlight, the world was good. Then comes the crash. Jim is shown preparing a fix while she's overdosing. Their roles are reversed. And then I don't know, it gets fuzzy. Time passes and you lose track. Now, this could have been a scene of tenderness, a partner nursing their loved one back to health. But instead, it's a dark parody of caregiving. Karen brings him a cold compress. She stands over him. She talks to him sweetly. But none of that matters, because the solution she's pursuing is just another hit. This warped version of home, a place where people overdose, hallucinate, and relive better days, reminds us that love in this space is not redemptive. It's stagnant and toxic, looping endlessly between regret and relapse. Desperate and ashamed, Karen confesses, we robbed that poor old lady with the oxygen tank, and we got $200 for the tank. I felt so bad, but when you need a fix, you'll do anything. I swear, the worst things. The imagery of them literally stealing from the vulnerable makes the horror all too real, and depicts one among a multitude of ways that addiction robs people of their humanity, both physically and emotionally. Jim tries to carry the guilt for both of them. Don't worry, I'll carry the guilt for this here. You don't carry any of it on your soul. But addiction pulls them further down. It kept on, and we did a bad thing to get a good thing, she admits, as we see them robbing a store. Their choices blur together as the drugs consume them, until eventually it all squished together, blurry, and the same, no difference between right and wrong. And this line perfectly illustrates how addiction erodes moral clarity. Karen isn't saying she doesn't know right from wrong. She's saying it no longer matters. The hunger, the withdrawals, the desperation. It all overwhelms the part of the brain that cares about ethics and morality. She's not just blurring lines between good and evil. She's lost the ability to even perceive that line, and that's a terrifying place to be in. Returning to the present, Karen stands over Jim and continues narrating. Then last week you got sick. I'm going to go out there and do something and get us right. She then pulls a gun from a bag. A bad thing for a good thing. One more time. And then we'll get clean. Move to Arizona where it's sunny and bright. Opening the front door, sunlight floods into the room. You rest right there, Jimbo. I'll be back, hell or high waters, with a fix. Let me bear the weight now. Now pay attention to Karen's references to Arizona. I feel like these represent a clean slate for her and Jim. A sunny, peaceful paradise far removed from Karen and Jim's bleak, drug-ravaged reality. She doesn't just want to leave town. She wants to start over, be whole again, escape everything they've done and become. But what makes it tragic is that this hope is built on a lie. Arizona becomes a kind of mirage, always just one fix away, one robbery away, one last time away. It's the carrot on the stick that addiction dangles in front of her to keep her moving, while she's actually just running in place, digging a deeper grave. And then we cut to a more stable scene, a nearby house where an elderly couple, Phil and Alice, prepare for Phil's doctor's appointment. But Phil gripes endlessly. I'm telling you, Alice, my daddy was right. You get old and it all falls apart. My body is in revolt. Alice is tired of his tirades, but calmly says, Your soup's getting cold, Phil. But Phil continues. My knee is swollen against my will. The arthritis makes it impossible to play piano. And my back. Don't get me started on my back. Alice listens, barely concealing her frustration. He describes surgeries, pills, oxycodone. Oxycodone makes you feel great. But what then? Physical therapy? When I'm high as a kite? When Alice suggests he goes for a walk, Phil scoffs. Ha! I'll walk around the block and never come back. Sayonara. Now their marriage is functional, but it's strained. And I also believe their relationship parallels Jim and Karen's. Jim and Karen are caught in a codependent, addiction-driven relationship. They're united by trauma, drug use, and a false sense of redemption. Their connection is intense but chaotic, built on shared highs, desperation, and self-destruction. Alice and Phil, on the other hand, are bound by the obligations of old age, chronic illness, and a long history together. Phil is physically dependent on Alice due to his pain and surgeries, while Alice is emotionally and practically tethered to him, driving him, feeding him, enduring his endless complaints. In both situations, the Karen and Alice seem to be the ones bearing the emotional weight of the physical illnesses of Jim and Phil. We then cut back to a random street, and Karen is still searching for cash. She checks parked cars, looking for anything she can steal, anything that is unlocked. That's when she hears the jingle of an ice cream truck. This is the last thing she needs to see right now. She turns, and she sees Rick's ice cream truck idling ominously on the curb. Moments later, she's behind the wheel, hallucinating wildly. I found a colorful truck. The inside smells like summer, and there's nobody on the road, not a soul, not one person, despite the city streets being full of cars and people. She plans to rob a bank, or a man, or anything to get one more fix. Enough scratch to get one last fix. And then I swear, I promise, we are clean. We'll move to the desert. Arizona like we've seen in the brochures. Here I come, here I come, here I come. And we see Arizona being mentioned here again. Karen's mentions of Arizona are completely untethered to reality. She talks about it as if they could move there tomorrow, as though a life of sunshine and healing is waiting just around the corner. But everything she has done so far to get there only pushes her further away from this dream. As fate would have it, Alice and Phil are finally headed to the doctor and just walked out their front door. Phil pleads with Alice to slow down, as she is obviously angry at his comment from before. Alice, slow down. I'm sorry. I worked myself into a frenzy. I said the wrong thing. Alice snaps back. Day after day I slave away, cooking your meals and driving you to the doctor and washing your backside because you can't turn at the hips. And what do I get? The soup's too cold. They climb into their car, and again Phil pleads with Alice. Alice, listen, I love you. I'm a jerk. It's the pain in these pills. They're a trap. They make you feel better at first, and then it changes. As Alice turns to her right, she sees it. The white ice cream truck heading straight for their car. The truck slams into Phil's side of the car, and everything goes dark. On the next page, we see the aftermath of the wreck. Their car is demolished. Smoke rises from the ice cream truck. Alice has climbed outside of the car and is stunned, looking down at her injured husband on the grass. "Oh my God, Phil," she says, just as Karen stumbles out of the ice cream truck. She pulls the gun out of her bag and points it at Alice. "Give me your money." Alice is frozen, but then becomes enraged. "You're one of them junkies," she says. Karen yells again, "Your money. Give it. Hand it over." Alice, staring in disbelief, replies, "Hear those sirens, girlie? That's the police coming. They're going to come and lock your junkie butt up for murder." Karen snaps, "Shut up." She yells again and fires. Now the blood of 2 lives are on Karen's hands. Alice collapses and Karen panics. I didn't mean," and she flees the scene of the wreck. Karen doesn't shoot Alice out of hatred. She shoots her because addiction has consumed every ounce of her reason and restraint. The gun wasn't just in her bag. It was always going to be in her future because she's always chasing just one more hit. She's past the point of coping. She's surviving on instinct and on fear, not morality. Karen doesn't even process what she's done. She reacts like someone startled awake after a nightmare, not someone who just made a conscious choice. It shows how addiction erodes not just judgment, but a person's morality. Scared and frantic, Karen runs back to Jim's house, bursting through the front door. "Jimmy, get up, the cops are..." But she's interrupted. Sitting next to Jim's unconscious body is Rick, the ice cream man. And again, this is the last person she needs to see right now. He greets her casually. "Hi, Karen. Old Jim here's not looking too hot." Karen stammers, what are you?" And Rick replies, "You borrowed my ice cream truck." And calmly he explains, "I'm here, Karen, to offer you a treat. A little something for your sweet tooth." He produces a green bag tied off at the end. "The best you've ever had. Purer than pure. Makes the other stuff seem like microwave dinners. But there's a catch. There's only enough for one person. You, the recent and harried fugitive. Or poor Jimbo here, writhing on the couch in withdrawal." Rick smiles. "A real humdinger, right? Better choose quick. Those sirens are getting awful close." Now this just isn't a plot device to create tension. It's a deliberate thematic test that brings the themes of this issue into focus. Rick frames it as a moral decision. Help Jim or save yourself. But the truth is, Karen was never in a place to choose selflessly. Her judgment is compromised by addiction, trauma, guilt, and recent violence. She just killed Alice. Presenting her with a life or death choice in this state exposes the cruel irony of addiction. Addiction strips people of the very agency that choices like this require. And Rick knows this. That's the point. He's not offering help. He's testing whether her addiction has hollowed her out completely. This isn't mercy. It's profane mockery of Karen's situation and the classic Faustian bargain. And then we turn the page, and the decision has been made. Jim lies unconscious. Karen is slumped in her chair, already dead from an overdose. The narration then shifts to Officer 5V. "We found them like this. 2 overdoses. The driver who fled the scene and an unidentified white male, likely her boyfriend. Crash suspect is unresponsive, but the male has a pulse. EMTs administer Narcan to Jim, and he wakes up, confused and scared. What happened to Karen?" The EMT solemnly replies, "I'm sorry. There was nothing we could do. Your girlfriend took a lethal dose. I'm afraid she didn't make it." Karen has spent the entire comic nursing Jim through his withdrawals. And now that the roles are completely reversed, instead of helping him, she doubles down on destruction. This reversal highlights the cyclical nature of addiction. One person helps the other survive until they switch roles again and again and again and again until someone breaks or someone dies. Rick's offer forces that cycle to end violently, and he knew exactly what he was doing in this case. It's no longer mutual enabling. It's one survives and one doesn't. This echoes many classic moral tests from other media. In movies, TV shows, and novels, we would expect the protagonist to overcome their flaws. But here, an all too common approach is taken. Can Karen prove her humanity is still intact? Well, the answer is no. And that's not just about her failure to do so. It's a commentary on how addiction reduces people to survival instinct, robs them of empathy, and warps their every priority. And Rick doesn't say, I can help both of you. He could, maybe, but he won't, because that would disrupt the suffering. Rick thrives on watching people fall apart under impossible circumstances. He's not a dealer. He's some sort of cosmic sadist, a force of entropy. His offer isn't a gift. It's a trap wrapped in false hope, much like what seemingly faces those with addiction in the real world. Then Karen's narration resumes, but from beyond the grave. Dear Jimbo, my precious and perfect Jimbo. Her words accompany images of her body being wheeled away, of Jim receiving her belongings, and sitting in front of a flyer for a detox support group. Jimbo, we did wrong in life, but I know a secret. Do you want to hear my secret? Up in the cloud place, all is forgiven. Even if you've done bad thing after bad thing, everyone ends on a good thing. Eventually we see Jim attend a support group for addiction, and Karen continues narrating. I hope you're feeling better and beating the hunger. You know, the one from deep inside, the hunger with teeth, that makes you try to change the way your eyes work. And then we see Jim stand. I'm an addict. Later, he sits alone on the same park bench where he and Karen fell into addiction, and her voice continues. I know it's hard, so hard. Hard is what makes you thankful for all the nice things, like the love we had for a small time. Do you feel the breeze, Jimbo? The one right there at the back of your neck? He stares down at a sobriety chip in his hand. 1 week sober. Karen couldn't break the cycle of addiction, despite every promise she made. Just one more time. We'll get clean. Move to Arizona. She didn't make it. Her story ends with death. Jim, however, survives. And instead of picking up where they left off, or falling deeper into despair, he takes a step that Karen never could. He walks into a support group and says, I'm an addict. That single sentence is monumental. It's not just an admission. It's an act of rebellion against the very force that consumed both of them earlier in the comic. Jim's survival isn't triumphant. It's raw, it's grief-stricken, and it's just the start of a long, hard road. But it's still a choice to keep going, even after everything that's happened. Where Karen reached her imagined Arizona through death, Jim is now faced with the harder version of Arizona, trying to earn his peace through the painful, day-by-day process of recovery. It's the harder path, but it's also the one grounded in reality. Then his expression darkens. He throws the sobriety chip into the pond, and Karen's final narration floats up from the water. That's just me, whistling Arizona at you from up above. Be good and well. I hope I don't see you too soon. As the chip sinks beneath the surface, the comic ends with Jim walking away from the pond, leaving the place where him and Karen had spent so much time together. Initially, I didn't know what to think about Jim throwing away this chip. It's something to be celebrated, but that is what we tend to feel when we're on the outside of addiction looking in. This scene speaks volumes about Jim, without any thoughts or dialogue directly from him. Jim has survived. He's sober for 1 week. But look where that's left him. Karen is dead. He's alone. His life is in ruins, and the future feels uncertain and fragile. The chip says 1 week sober, but to Jim, that probably feels hollow. It doesn't feel like something to celebrate. It feels like a reminder of everything he's lost. Throwing it away could symbolize that he doesn't feel proud. He just feels empty. This act could be seen as a moment of hopelessness. The chip might feel like a token of guilt rather than progress. Instead of giving him strength, It's just a painful symbol of the cost of his survival. And maybe, in that moment, Jim isn't sure whether staying clean is even worth it. And it might be a symbolic release, not of sobriety, but of the burden of memory and guilt at the hands of addiction. Ice Cream Man number 2 doesn't offer any easy answers. It doesn't wrap things up neatly. Instead, it lingers, like guilt, like grief, with haunting echoes of broken promises, unreachable futures, and the people we lose to the long dark before they ever step into the light. Karen never made it to Arizona specifically, at least not the way she imagined. And Jim, he's still here, trying to figure out if healing is even possible when so much damage has already been done. If this issue left you thinking, feeling, or even just a little uneasy, then we feel the same way. And if this video helped you process it, or made you see something new in this story, let me know in the comments below. Before we go, if you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, please know you're not alone. Help is out there, and recovery is possible. You can call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's free 24/7 helpline at 1-800-662-4357. Or you can visit drugfree.org for support, resources, and real people who want to help you take that first step towards recovery. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.